Working on my welding truck today. We had some rain, so I can't go on site, and I don't have any shop work at the moment. That's kind of rare. But I need to make a new toolbox. That one up there just doesn't even come close to holding all my tools. So I'm going to put one back here in this little spot. And I want it to hold my portaband and my chop saw. So I stuck them in this toolbox because that's about the exact size I want, is that little area right there. Then it was just a matter of figuring out how I wanted to lay out the pieces and the exact dimensions I needed for them. Because I didn't want to waste a lot of sheet metal, so I wanted to make sure they fit and nested correctly. And of course you gotta sand off all the burrs and stuff on this sheet metal. And I discovered that putting it in the brake was really a good way to hold it. And it also made it a lot easier to cut out the corners. Now I should have gone ahead and taken off the angle iron on the leaf before I started doing any of this bending, because I had to take it off regardless to do this front bend, reverse bend, whatever they call that. Because that leaf is a 1/2 inch thick, and I could have just used the front of it to make sure I had each one of these bends exactly a 1/2. And I have to take it off anyway to complete it, so like I said, should have just done that to begin with. Maybe. Deep inside the bend. Yeah. Pretty close. This direction's a little bit wider, so I had to swap some fingers around to get clear out to the full width of it. I swapped those two for that one. Actually looks really close. Yeah. It's bang on. I stuck it in there that good, that quick. There! A pan! That should be the lid. Okay. And I started marking to do the sides of the toolbox. And figuring out what order you're going to make your bend is really important when using a finger brake. Because if you make a bend that doesn't fit under your fingers, then you can't make the next bend. So it's critical. Make sure you do it kind of as you pull the sheet through. I'm going to lay it down there on the floor and mark the back side so it'll fit into it. Okay. Alright, so I need this corner to be 45 to match up to this other corner. Now it's 45, the other one the same way. Then it was time to start putting all these pans together. I very seldom use this long vice grip, but it's kind of one of those things that when you need it, you sure need it. You know what I mean? I really like that thing. For the bottom and the back, I just bent this into an L. Super easy. Had a heck of a time getting that piece down flat against the back of the toolbox on those lips on the back. So I just grabbed a piece of square tubing to push down on it. That way I could weld it in place. That's a respectable box, I think. I'm not going to weld out here. Maybe a couple spot welds. So that's what it looks like with the porta band and the chop saw sitting in it. That's all it's going to be in this box. Well, I'll probably put some other stuff in here. I didn't show the bending of the lid. Nothing to it, just, you know, so far 3 sides are bent, that's it. So it'll fit on here. I left it long because I'm trying to figure out exactly what I'm doing down here for hinges. So what I'm thinking about doing is using these leftover pieces, cut it in half, and I don't know. I was thinking about sticking it on like that, but then once I had the hinges made, I was able to cut the door off to the exact length that I wanted it. What I did here is put an angle iron on the bottom. I thought about just bending this lip over when I made this bottom pan, and I decided that it'd be easier to put an angle iron on it. That way I don't have to have it perfect. And also the angle iron's a little thicker. They can take a little more fuse, be a little stronger. Then it was time to figure out exactly where my latch went. To drill those holes, I just used a 1/4 inch center drill. Just went all the way through with it. they bind a lot less in sheet metal. Makes it real easy to drill through that way. And it makes it a rounder hole too. And Grandpa came by for a visit. He just turned 102. The camera that was on didn't pick up his voice very well. He talks too softly.
Huh?
Getting her put together?
Yeah, about. Yep. Not too much left to do.
That's pretty good.
I think it came out all right.
You did this?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. All on the finger brake back there.
So that was good.
That's about all it wants to do.
Oh, it is.
Then I used some scrap pieces, bent them into U's, positioned around inside this door to reinforce it. That way I can stand on it to get up onto my truck. You'll see that here in a bit. I also added this piece of square tubing between the hinges. It does two things. It helps reinforce that side of the door, so when I step on it, it doesn't flex as much. And it also reinforces the hinges a little bit. Then I had to cut off the license plate holder, which that thing was incredibly heavy, and the mud flap in order to get the toolbox where I wanted it. I just used some 1/2-inch square stock, had little spacers to drop it down a little bit, about 1.5 inches long, and welded those in place, welding the toolbox to them. If I ever need to move this toolbox for some reason, it'll be real easy to cut those spacers off with a cutoff wheel and a hand grinder. And suddenly it's done. I just got to coat primer on there. I don't have the color of paint I want, so that'll be good enough for now. Got the mud flap back on. It pretty well protects the toolbox, so that ought to work pretty good. And the latch and the saws, and it's strong enough I can stand on it and get up on the truck. And for the portaband to hold that up, I simply just made a little S bracket bolted to the wall. It closes really easy. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching, y'all. I got a lot more projects I'm going to do on this truck, so subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks.